Welcome everyone, JRR here, and we're going over, well, going over techniques and spells because when I watched the last video of it, I realized that there are some interesting diversions, probably like diversions that you're having right about now. Yes. 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 Well, let's go ahead and get started with, well, like I started last time, techniques.
Hey! Stop treating me like a joke, damn it! I've got a new technique! Which I probably could have used earlier and maybe saved all of our friends' lives. But that's beside the point! Get ready for my Destructo Disc!
Lame.
Now, take this!
Ooh, a frisbee, Vegeta. Nappa, no! It's a trick! But Vegeta, tricks are for kids. You know what, Nappa? On second thought, catch it. Catch it with your teeth. Yay! Like a doggy. Ow, ow, ow! Ricola! Oh, God damn it!
Hi. What we're doing right now for covering techniques is we're going to go over the basics. Now, I'm going to be fair because I've found one series that had both spells and techniques into it. It's a game, folks. Ninja Gaiden, whatever. For those of you who know my other, so in one of my other videos, you know why I refer to it as this. Well, many techniques that Ryu Hayabusa uses are with weapons. Multiple strikes, dive downs, bouncing off walls, running on water. All those are techniques for him. Meanwhile, his Nippon abilities are spells. Lightning comes down and strikes things. He casts Fireball. Things like that, where if he's doing something where it's a type of chant with the runic abilities, then it becomes a spell. Now, what's the difference between techniques and spells? Well, you don't see Ryu Hayabusa running on water saying, run on water, run on water, run on water, run on water, run on water. No, he's not saying that. Or nor is he bouncing off the walls going, I'm going from wall to 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 wall. No, he's not saying that. He's not saying, I run a wall, run a wall. No, none of that, none of that. Techniques, you don't really need to say what they are. You don't really need to say them. You don't need to call out your attack, so to speak. He doesn't jump in the air and go, I'm going to chop your head now, ha! Even his Azaboom, Azaba, whatever, I usually look it up, his Zani, whatever drop, he can do it with a sword, he can do it with his hands, he can do it with his feet, where he jumps up, where he knocks his opponent up, he jumps up, grabs him, spins around, and then slams him into the ground as they're spinning. Like a corkscrew death drive thing. They just kind of go straight down, but he's spinning around. That's a technique. It's a technique, but he's not sitting there, I'm gonna zoomy, bobby, booty, to drop you. Ah! That'd be funny as hell. But he doesn't do that. Meanwhile, in the same token, he does it with the sword, and he doesn't say the same thing. He doesn't say anything. He just... Then he gets up and kind of looks at the guy like... So, techniques, you don't have to say what they are. But if you do, you can always... You don't even have to worry about it if you mess up. Say, for instance, if Goku goes for his Kamehameha, if he starts halfway through, Kamehameha... Goten, what the hell are you doing? Vegeta, hold on, just... Vegeta, stop. Go on. Go get Goten. Go get Goten. Go get Gohan, go get Goten. Hey, Vegeta. Ah! He can actually take that break and do that. Even though the charge won't be the same, but he can actually stop in the middle of it. Or stop to speak in the middle of it. He doesn't have to just say Kamehameha and fire. It could be Kamehameha. Vegeta, did your hair recede before? What do you mean by that? Ha! Aw! Something like that. Techniques allow you to speak and add things to it in a way that will not screw off your technique. That is what they are. Techniques are efficient for both offense and defense. But what you do with techniques are, how can I say this? Using techniques just happen to make you want to do whatever task that a technique is meant for to be more efficient. If you're going to pummel somebody, then the technique usually is called pummel, or from the Rama series, Tetsuyoshi Anekuri Ken, roasting chestnuts over an open fire. Either case, you are saying that you're going to strike them. Your hand's going to move so damn fast that there is no logical way there's going to be a block. Most people just block it like this and just take the hit. That's usually how it works. That's how techniques roll. It's just the way techniques are. Now, techniques you could chain together. And before you think, oh, there's no such thing as techniques in real life, look at wrestling. Every move is technically a technique. Because you have to get the hold proper, move them into position, and execute said move. This is important. Why is this important? Because if you screw up your technique while doing a move, people either get hurt unnecessarily or you get yourself damaged. A good example is when people go for a superplex and the guys all day is on the top rope and they get up there and they put them in a little headlock and they stand them up and they set them square and they're ready to do this. They know for a fact that this technique says when I fall backwards, they're going to hit the ground with more of a slingshot momentum than I will. However, I'm still hitting the ground. So, the subconscious part of the technique that you have to remember is, if you're doing this move, you must remember you are going to hit the ground. And as you fall back, you must brace yourself for this impact, because if you do not, you're going to cause yourself as much, if not more damage to yourself than to your opponent. Your opponent already knows their emotion, so they're like, well, I'm screwed no matter what. I'm thinking it's my back. Let me brace as best I can. But I'm in the air, so there's no real way to do it. And you hit the ground, and there you go. Technique is flowing into a movement, into a motion, into something. And as long as your technique is good, things go well. If my technique was better in speaking, this would have came out clear. But my technique sucks at speaking, even though I have college credit in public speaking. It's I go figure that one. But when my thoughts are a lot clearer. When my thoughts are a lot clearer, it comes out better. But since I forgot to make annotations, this is my bad. It comes out garbled. So let me just finish this up real quick in a nutshell for techniques. If you don't pay attention to any other part of the technique rant, it's this. I'm purposely holding it for a moment. Moves have techniques within them. If you do a combination in a video game where you chain multiple hits together and multiple moves together, that is a technique. You have a technique on keeping a combo going. You have a technique on making sure you do this right, because you know without the proper technique in doing your combo, without the proper technique, you screw off the combo. You screw it up. Instead of a 36 hit combo, you get like a 12 hit combo because you missed a critical point. Techniques are that important. As simple and as subtle as techniques are, they can also be very flamboyant and extravagant. Gallic gun, Kamehameha, things like that. Hadouken, Super Hadouken. You see what I'm getting at? No matter what game you play, no matter what sport you watch, there's always a technique. There's a technique in how the baseball player has to swing the bat to get the max effectiveness. If he wants to hit it to the ground, there's a technique that has them hit it towards the ground or at an angle. There's a technique on how to pitch. Different techniques on pitching have you do different types of throws. Fastball, curveball, slider, etc. So as you see, techniques are in real life. They're just subtle to us. Okay? Now that I've covered that, we move on to, well, spells.
Mad cow.
I know why you're grouping with me. I bet you wanna get some water out of me. Do I look like a vending machine? No, I'm a fireball in MAGE. I don't know why you're rolling a priest. Shadow damage can't manage to top me. I'm like a ninja with invisibility. And then I'll T-E-L-E-P-O-R-T. Soon as I join the group, they start begging for water. Could've dropped a few gold and just gone out and bought it. But now they got a mate, so you know that nobody brought it. It's a good thing I got 2 full bag spaces allotted, because I'm cooking that more biscuits than a buskin' Joe. Just so our tank can get a couple more cinnamon rolls. Arcane intellect for everyone, so they should know. But now I'm out of mana and they're already ready to go.
Spells. Well, like techniques, spells are set for certain reasons. Sealing, enhancing, offensive, defensive. Now, with all that being pointed out and said, one game in particular has both techniques and spells. If you look up Ninja Gaiden, guide, whatever, you'll see that most of his physical attacks are all techniques. They all have a type of technique name. Everything he does, almost the physical attributes, happens to be a technique. If he's running on water, running on the walls, bouncing off things, throwing the enemy, the Izabani, whatever drop, all those are techniques. Even when he counters people, it's a technique. Even the counter itself is a technique. But when we're talking about spells, you go ahead in the game and switch over to the Nippon stuff, the fireball, or the flame wheels, the electric shock thing, all those happy spell type of things. All those are spells. Nippon are spells. Same could be said about, say, the Naruto, where they sit there and do the flame out because of the chakra. It's hit or miss on what to really call that. It's close to technique and it's close to spell at the same time, because they're still channeling something and they're using a different source of energy. In some cases, it is known as a technique. Some cases, it is like a Dragon Ball technique. If they're not casting anything and they just do it, it's a technique. Now, if they're sitting there and they're doing all the hand motions, multiple hand motions, or they're chanting, then it becomes a spell, because they're invocating is the word, I think. I think that's the word, invocating. Pretty much the word I'm trying to say is the word that says you're reading off a type of spell or a list of words to permit this spell to do what it needs to do on this plane. Slayers was a good example with Lena Inverse. Her big move is a Major League Blast, but when she's trying to incant it, you hear what she says the whole time. You hear that she's describing like a demon. She's asking the demon to blast the thing. That's pretty much all it comes out to. So, of course, the demon just blasts it when the incantation is done. No time before then. So, with spells having this incantation, again, it goes across the board. In Naruto, they have the moments of spells where they're sitting there and they're doing the hand motion things, and they're I'm gonna blast your ass. And there they go. Now, if I would have shot something and it would have destroyed the camera, I would have been actually concerned, because I have no idea what the hell I said in a nutshell. Short of the last line of I'm going to blast your ass. But you see what I'm saying. It's an incantation to get things worked the way, to get everything to come into this plane to do what it needs to do. Now, I think in Naruto it said it's still based off chakra, where techniques and spells kind of merge together depending on what they're doing, which is great, which is a good thing. I think Sasuke had a little flame breath thing, and that's a little bit of a mix between technique and spells, because he still had to have the pose for his hand, still had to have the pose. And when he brought it up to the mouth and he did the proper motion, the technique, the spell and the technique mixed together and they caused a flame, which is good. This is like a combination of things, which shows that techniques and spells can coexist. Ryu Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden, God, whatever. He has them broken up pretty much boom and boom. If I'm going to blast you, it's a spell. If I'm going to stab you, it's a technique. But again, this goes across the board. That's just how he breaks it down. If you played Jade Empire, it's the same thing. The only difference is, that I could think of, well, no, that's not really a difference, because their techniques use chi, but it's still spell-like. Like Dragon Ball, they have techniques, but again, it uses chi, or ki, or whatever, and it's spell-like. It's like a spell, but it isn't quite a spell. So, now that we've got that basically covered, we know that techniques are set to do a certain task without an incantation. Meanwhile, spells, in a nutshell, you do have to incant. You have to do some sort of incantation to get it to do what you want it to do. But double R, things can't be that simple. Sometimes it really is. Why'd I take extra time to explain it this way? Because my brain just clicked on and realized that's about how simple I need to explain it. Because that's how simple it really is. Really, really is. And now, for final thoughts, I think. But let's just do it as a summary / final thought, whatever. And wait, I have to know how to control the panel wipes.
Why don't you pick on someone who's not David Bowie, pussy ass?
I'll show you, pussy ass.
Well, at least buy me a drink first.
Holy shit! This is the manliest thing I've ever seen! This is way more exciting than Dragon Ball Z, where all the characters just stand opposite each other and charge up their attacks and— oh, come on!
I like big butts, and I cannot lie. You other brothers can't deny that when I
Impossible. How could he possibly already know the lyrics to my super special secret no jutsu?
It's simple, pussy ass. I just used my eye jutsu power.
That's right, folks. With the new iJutsu app, you can download anyone's jutsu before they've even finished using it on you. And it's only—
Another narrator!
Ow!
And now, the final thoughts. Techniques and spells are broken off like similes and metaphors. That's how simple they really are. Both techniques and spells can pull from the supernatural plane. Mana, ki, chakra, whatever. It can pull from the supernatural realm, or it could simply be pulled from here. Right. Those who do free running, where they can run off a wall and bounce off, is a technically it's a technique. A baseball slide, where you're sliding to a base, that's a technique. Diving, so the swan dive has its own technique. Doggy paddle, a swimming technique. Techniques can be that simple, or they can be very complicated, like in Dragon Ball, where you're throwing destructo discs and blinding people with solar flare and using Kamehameha. In the same regard, they both can pull from that supernatural source. The bigger, fancier, flashier techniques pull from that source. The simpler techniques do not. Now, spells have to pull from that source, and they are triggered most often by an incantation. Why an incantation? Because they're spells. Now, sometimes you can have a spell with a quick incantation, like burn, bitch, and it throws like a fire blast or something. It could be that simple. But it always has to have that incantation. It has to. In some video games, they have it as an instant cast, where you pretty much, your character has memorized the spell to the point of what you need to say exactly, what it takes to trigger the attack. That's it. They're not worried about anything else. They're just worried about triggering the attack because it's an instant. The harder casting times, like the 1/2 second, 2 second, 3 second, whatever game you're playing, no matter how long the incantation is, no matter how many of these you got to do, apparently you need a series of triggers to get it to go. It's just that simple. So, in a nutshell, techniques can, they don't always, but they can pull from the supernatural source of energy, and they do not need an incantation. They don't need it. I mean, you can call your shots if you want to. You can. You can say Hadouken, touch or touch again, or whatever the hell you want to say. You can do whatever you want to say with it, but you don't need to say the technique name. You don't need to call your shots with techniques. You don't have to. Spells, on the other hand, you have to incant. Sometimes you can move and chant. Sometimes you don't have to chant. you can keep it as a quiet chant, a loud chant, but you have to chant. It doesn't matter. You have to. It is going to happen. It is going to be a chanting war. If you got two warlords or warlocks and they're standing across the field from each other and they're both wanting to blast each other with a really big move, you're going to sit there and hear both of them, and they're just going to go at it, and they're going to be racing against each other to see who can cast first. That's pretty much all it comes out to. Spells, you incant or enchant. You incant or use chant. Techniques, you don't have to. It's just that simple. But double R. It can't be that simple. Nothing is ever that simple. Yes, it is that simple. It really is. The only major difference, techniques and spells both pull from the supernatural. Techniques don't have to pull, but they can. But they pull from the supernatural plane. And casting stuff, chanting, incantations have to be done for spells. They have to. No matter what you want to call it. The reason why I bring this up, and why is it that simple? Because even in English, with our weird, messed up words like, well, or messed up, no, I can say that, messed up words like Arkansas, and our messed up letters like W. For those of you who know my rants, you know why I'm giving a little smile about that one, about both those. But in any case, in either case, the reason, ow, that was a technique of pain. Wow, that hurt. Anyway, see, I have a speaking technique that gets disrupted easy. I would be a horrible caster. I would suck at it, and I'd forget halfway through the... And then I will blast, hey, Bob, how you doing? Done. Done. But as I was saying, the reason why it is that simple of a breakdown, that simple of one, simile, metaphor. What's the difference between them? The word like and as. That's it. That's it. That's the only major difference between a simile and a metaphor. From a metaphor, wow, that dude's a beast, versus a simile. That dude is like a beast. That's the difference right there. That is it. That's the difference between techniques and spells, or the bigger, fancier techniques and spells. That's the only real difference. They both pull from a supernatural force. The only difference is techniques, you don't have to sit there and do any type of chanting. They gather up the energy they need, and they do what they need to do. Casting, for spells, that's what they do. They are casting. They are calling forth things to pull to them, to gather it up, to send it wherever it needs to go. Now, if they're trying to seal something up, it's a different story, but you get the idea. Okay? It is that simple. I spent all this time, and I could have just said this at the beginning for the summary, and that would have been it, and it would have been a 2-minute video. For the love of China, for the love of anywhere, don't ask. Next time, I will try to keep things a little more organized and keep it on a straight line. Sound good? I hope so, because I'm really confused now. No, I'm not really. Good night, everybody. Sorry, I forgot. Proper ending technique. Night, everybody.